Good evening, everyone. All you need is the plan, the roadmap, and the courage to press onto your destination. Earl Nightingale. It's my pleasure to welcome everyone to the session Roadmap to Successful Project through IEEE Women in Engineering Affinity Group, University of Jaffna. I am Kulandahi Paramalingam, Assistant Secretary, IEEE Women in Engineering Affinity Group, University of Jaffna. I will be moderating this session today. Without any further delay, I warmly welcome our keynote speaker, Ms. Aparna Kirubananda, to this special event. She is a ZEDA accredited senior lecturer at Informatics Institute of Technology. She is a first-class honor degree holder in IT from SLIT, and she has a MSc in Computer Science specializing in Information Security from University of Moratuel. And currently, she involved with modules related to programming, requirements engineering, and IT security. Her research interests are mainly related to internet identity, software engineering, business process, model innovation, and e-learning. She is also actively involved in teaching and learning related research to improve the quality of teaching in higher education. She has done few publications both in local and international conferences. Ma'am, you are an indeed inspiration to all of us. I'm glad to welcome you here today on behalf of IEEE Women in Engineering Affinity Group, University of Jaffna. Ma'am, it's over to you.
Thank you, Kulandahi, for that nice introduction. And very good evening to all of you. And it's a pleasure to meet all of you here today. So let me start sharing my screen. I hope my screen is visible, Kulandahi.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, okay. All right, so thank you for this invitation, IEEE WIE of University of Jaffna. And today I'm here to talk about roadmap to successful projects. So graduate life, projects play a vital role in academic endeavor. So you basically have to do certain projects, maybe module level, small assignments or small coursework, as well as you will be doing industry related project and the research project. So when it comes to undergraduate study program, these projects carry a lot of weight because they show how much you have absorbed the theory and how well you have applied it into a real world situation or a practical or in a practical environment. So it is very important for you to understand or to identify like what can be exactly like, when you take up a project, how you successfully complete it and ensure that you reach the end goal. So when it comes to projects, so this project is just not a task. You can look at it as a journey, because you start from a point, you start from one place, and then you have the goal in another endpoint where you are going to travel from the beginning, trying to reach out the goal. So it's just don't look at it like a single task. Look at it in a way that it is a whole journey. And if you do it with a lot of passion, if you do it with a lot of interest, this journey is going to be a memorable one and a rewarding experience as well. So when it comes to projects, when it comes to projects that are in your module as part of coursework or assignment, you might be given a particular task to complete. You might be given a particular case, and then you might be asked to come up. But when it comes to your industry projects or like, your software development project or software engineering project or your research project, you might need to find out a problem, and then you might need to come up with a solution. So the key thing to the success of your project will be finding a good problem. Regardless, a software engineering project or that is the implementation project or a research problem, the key would be to find a good problem. So if you find a good problem, that a burning problem that needs a solution, then the steps there, finding out an innovative solution and implementing is going to be simple, right? Because the process are set. It's just that you need to follow that rigorously. So when it comes to finding a problem with related to the nature of module, it depends. So mainly now when it comes to your engineering project or software development project that you might take on your second year or in your third year, that mostly is focused on looking at a problem and coming up with the solution using cutting edge technologies. So in that case, it's good to find a good business problem, right? Or a good problem that exists in your environment. So now you might wonder, how do we find this good problem? So whenever it comes to finding a problem, try to see whether you could find something that is related to your passion. Now you might be good in sports, you might be good in singing, you might be good in dancing, right? So try to see whether you could find something that is related to your passion, or some problems that you have faced and you felt that it needs a solution. Maybe daily while before pandemic, when you were traveling from university, your house to university and university back to your home, right? You might have faced some problems. So whether that needs to be solved, or you might, like, when you are studying, you might face some problem, right? Or when you're looking after things at home, you might find some problem, right? So see whether you have faced any problem that needs some solution, and think of something that you would love to have. Okay, right now I'm doing a particular task, right? So it would have been better if I had something else which would help me to do this, right? So think of a problem that something that you would love to have, right? So a simple example would be, now before this mobility apps came in, things like Uber or PickMe came in. When we want to book a vehicle, we need to call a taxi service, and then we need to get down, call them, tell them the direction and get them down. Or when we need to get onto the road and stop a three-wheeler, right? So now at that time, somebody would have thought, okay, it would have been nice if I had an application through which I could sit at home and book my vehicle and it will come and pick me and go, right? So something like that. So things or something that you would love to have in order to ease your lifestyle, right? And also you can think of taking local products to the global market or global environment. Now there might be some speciality in your locality, that is in your village or in your province or in your district, right? Think whether you could take it to a wider market, right? Whether you could introduce it to something only in your village. Think whether you can introduce it to your district, then the province, to Sri Lanka, and to the world, right? So you could take on something like that. Now, when it comes to research problem also, same thing applies, but you also need to think how you could contribute to the body of knowledge as well. Now, if you are following a software engineering degree, or if you are following a computer science degree, right? So you need to see how I could contribute something to this software engineering body of knowledge or computer science body of knowledge, right? So mostly when it comes to research project, you still can connect it with your passion, connect it to solve a problem, right? But additionally, you need to have something to research and to innovate and give as well, right? So we say like you need to contribute it. I mean, you need to see whether you could contribute to the body of knowledge as well. It's not to be like completely novel, but it can be something introducing a hybrid approach or process improvement or anything like that, right? So the key is to find a good problem to start your research. So that is going to be the starting of the journey. And when it comes to group projects or individual projects, still you can look at some of the techniques that you can use to ideate problems, right? Or even to ideate solutions, right? So you can do brainstorming where you get into groups of 3 to 5, right? And then you discuss about different things and each one come up with some ideas, and then you put them together, and then you filter and select one problem that needs to be solved. And then you can follow this 6-3-5 principle, where you have this option of 6 people getting together and writing down 3 problems in 5 minutes, and then you exchange the papers that you have written the 3 the 3 problems, and then you pick one that is like, that everybody thinks needs to be solved and feasible to solve, right? And then you can also come up with prototyping approach, where you come up with some model. So that is mostly used mostly useful when you're ideating the solution, right? And again, storyboarding, in which you can visualize the problem or the solution and then come up with identifying the problems, right? So these are some of the techniques that you can use at the beginning in order to ideate, or in order to find good problems, right? And then once you identify the problem, the key thing is to validate your problem. Now, now when it comes to your individual project or the group project, you might have come up with, or you might have identified this problem thinking from your perspective, right? For example, if you think something needs to be solved, so let's take, I assume that booking a train is difficult, right? So there are no online platform, and I'm a daily travel. You think so that I have seen like there are a lot of people traveling through trains for their work and studies in the morning, right? So what most of them do is, some of them have the season tickets. Some of them what they do is they come to the railway station and they pick a ticket, buy a ticket from the counter, and then they go and travel. So I looked at this and I thought that it's a difficult task for them. Let me introduce an app which will help them to book the tickets, right? But when I developed this app and when I put it out in the, I figured that nobody is buying it, right? Nobody is using it, right? So there, what had gone wrong is I have not validated the problem, right? So for me, it was a problem, right? I saw that as a problem for others, but for the majority of them who uses it on a daily basis, they have not found it as a problem, right? So this is just an example. Similarly, any problem that you come up with, right? We basically sit inside 4 walls and then we think that it is a problem, right? So sometimes it might not be a real problem for the end user whom we are targeting. So in such case, what you need to do is to validate the problem. So there are different ways to validate the problem, right? So one thing is that you can do a pilot study. So when you do the pilot study, what you do is you pick the target audience. So you pick your users or whoever is going to be the beneficiaries of your product. And then you structure some questions and go and speak to them to figure out whether this is an actual problem, right? Or you can even put up a questionnaire in Google Forms and distribute it and then validate or get an idea to see whether this is a problem for them. So whenever you are trying to validate it, try to validate it with as much as stakeholders who are directly involved with your system, right? So when it comes to users, sometimes you have this twofold, right? So you will have a buyer and seller in a producer and a distributor in the app itself, right? So try to figure out all the beneficiaries who will be getting, who are going to use your application, and then try to get the problem validated through all of them, right? Also, when it comes to research problem, we might have also to support our problem, right? There might be literature available in online that will say, okay, this particular problem exists, right? So we could take those and then we could solve those problems as well, right? When you're looking for literature, you need to ensure that you look at credible resources, right? You need to ensure that the facts that you get are from valid source, right? So that is another key point. And when it comes to solution, right? So we have a problem, right? So we validated the problem and then we are going to think of the solution. So be innovative in finding your solution, right? So try to come up with something that will attract your target audience, right? And now when it comes to innovation, it needs not to be finding something new completely, right? So that is really hard. So the innovation can come as a product innovation or a business model innovation, right? You can basically come up with entirely new product, or for an existing product, you can change the business model, how the business is happening, and then you can come up with the business model innovation as well. Now, when it comes to research projects, or when it comes to the when you think of research or research project approaches, you can also come up. Now, you may have a problem which has been already solved, but you might have come across, or you might have figured using the literature and by doing different analysis, you might have come up saying that you might have understood that the way that it is solved now is not so efficient, right? You have a particular problem, it already has a solution. Now, when you analysis, you might have figured that the way that the problem is solved is not so efficient, right? So you can propose an efficient method by using different algorithm, different approach to solve that problem, right? Or you can, like, try to come up with your own algorithms to solve those problems as well, right? So that is another way of finding solution. Right. So whenever you're trying to come up with the project or the successfully or continue the project, it's very important that you choose the correct methodology, right? So when you are doing anything, right? So the methodology is very important, right? What to do first, what to do next has to be clearly defined. So there are a lot of project methodologies that are available, right? Development methodology, project management methodology, in addition to when it comes to research projects, research methodology, right? So you need to ensure, looking at your problem and looking at how you are going to solve, looking at the nature of the problem, you need to ensure that you choose the correct methodology, right? Correct. If it is a research project, you need to ensure that you use the correct research methodology as well as the development methodology, right? And if it's a complete implementation project, you need to ensure that you choose the correct development methodology. So this development methodology, it needs to be chosen by considering the type of the project, the nature of the project, size of the project, and how long you're going to do that, all of that, right? So that is another key point that you need to keep in mind to choose the correct methodology. Because when you choose the correct methodology, the steps you reach your end goal are defined. You need to apply that for your project and ensure that you travel in that path to reach the end goal or reach the destination, right? Then the other important thing is now understanding the requirements. So whenever you do a research project or an implementation project, the key thing that you need to remember is to understand the requirements clearly. So you might have this, you might have seen this famous cartoon which says or which shows what happens when you don't clearly understand your requirements. How many of you all have seen this? Can I see a raise of hands? I'm sure most of the time, like in software engineering and all of that, you might have seen this. Yeah, there are quite a number, right? So if you don't have the requirements correctly, then what happens is throughout the phase of the development, right, it will be transferred to the different different people who are involved in the different phases in different ways, and what you get at the end will not be what the client actually wanted or what you wanted to initially, what you intended to design, right? If you have not understood what the client wants, you will not be able to deliver exactly what they want, right? So understanding the requirement is very important. So you can again do this in various ways. You can interview your end users or interview your client, right? And you can also run surveys with your end users, right? Say, for example, like I said before, like the previous example I took, the railway system, to understand their or look at their requirements and see what they exactly need. What I could have done is to develop a small questionnaire and to distribute it among those who commute in the train, who travels in the train, and I could have seen what they exactly want, right? So without that, if I think on my own and try to come up with the features or the requirements list and then try to implement it, sometimes it might not fit the end users, or it might not be a useful thing for the end users whom I'm going to give this solution for, right? Therefore, doing a thorough requirement engineering is very important. So you can even do focus group discussions, right? You can even observe, right, in different environment in order to gather requirement. You can go and observe how they do it manually now and what could be in order to ease their task and to make it better, or when it comes to implementing a system, what would be really beneficial for them to have as a feature, right? So you can think of those. And when you come up with the requirements, when you have understood the requirements, always try to come up with a use case diagram. Now you might think sometimes, okay, now I have understood the requirements, right? Why should I draw this use case diagram? Or what is the whole point of drawing it, right? So there, why is it important is, now when you put up a use case diagram, it clearly shows the relationship between the different use cases, right? And the actors who are involved with those use cases. And also it shows the dependency between the use cases as well. In the form of include and extend, we show the dependencies as well, right? And you can see whether put any generalization or specialization identified, and then whether we could have any abstract use cases, right? So it gives you to get a better picture of the whole requirement that you have gathered, right? So if you have identified that, or when you just write it down as a list, you might not easily identify that, right? But when you put it on a diagram, you may be able to come up with you may be able to visualize that relationship, and when you are trying to come up with the next stage, that is the design and development, it will be very much helpful for you, right? Similarly, at this stage, you can also come up with the activity diagram, which shows the flow of your solution, or flow of your system, right? So that again is going to help you to identify what are the different activities that are going to get involved and how these requirements are going to be mapped and matched, right? Right. So that, sorry. So when you have identified the requirements, basically you can come up with the next stage, which is very important, designing your solution. So most of the time they say that software engineers don't like this particular step or stage, right? They skip this and then they tend to implement the solution, right? But why I have included this here is it is very important. Now, let me ask a question from y'all. Before you build a house, what do y'all do? Before you build a house, what do y'all do? Can I see some answers going on the chat? If it's possible. Yeah, you need to make a plan, right? You need to draw the plan. How do we do that? you can go and tell an architect, build me a house with 3 rooms, maybe kitchen, 2 washrooms, and then the living room, right? So you can go to the particular architect or whoever, and you can give that requirement, right? So why do you spend time on drawing and getting this blueprint or the plan? What do you think is important? You're going to waste some time in drawing this design, right? You go to the architect. Yeah, so to decrease the falls, right? Now, if you just go and say, okay, I want now in this space, build a house with 3 rooms, 2 washrooms, with living room, kitchen, right? Then the architect or the construction company, the constructors, right? They will build it in the way that they want, isn't it, right? And that wouldn't be the way that you want it, right? So in order to ensure that you and the contractor has an agreement, right? To understand that what you want is what is going to be built, you need to come up with the design, right? So then you can alter the design. You can first give them the requirement. They will come up with the design. Then if you want some alteration, you can alter that, and then you can come up with the finalized design and start building. If not, you would know, like, you have to break the house and build it again, right? Which will take more time as well as more cost. Same thing happens with software project implementation as well, right? So if you don't put up a proper plan, and after that, if you don't start implementation, without that, if you right after the requirements, if you get the problem and if you directly start writing the code and implementing your solution, sometimes you might end up with a situation where you would need to redo the whole thing, because what you have built is what was expected, right? So therefore, you can come up with the design of the solution, and then you can finalize the design and start the implementation. Now, not only that, this design actually helps in a lot of other ways as well. Now, when it comes to, like, identifying, putting up a class diagram and all that, it helps further to identify what are the different components that are going to get involved in your system, and how do we model that, right? So how do they get interacted with one another? What is required, right? And then when you put up that in a class diagram, you will figure out what you have missed and what you have more, and you can optimize your solution as well, right? So that is very important, right? So at the after you, like, get the requirements, you need to properly come up with the design, and then you can start implementation. So when you come up with the design, you have different diagrams that will support you, right? You can write algorithms, and then you can finalize it. So when it comes to diagrams, you have UML diagram, with prototypes. So once your design is finalized, you can move on to the next stage, which is the implementation. So when you are going to implement, the key thing is to ensure that you choose the correct technology, right? Now, don't choose something trending without knowing its real purpose, right? Now, sometimes I have seen some of my students in some cases, right? When the NoSQL was becoming trending, without even knowing why NoSQL is used or what is the real purpose of using a NoSQL database, right? They try to implement NoSQL. Why? Because it's trending, right? And they think that if you, like, come up with, if you use trending technologies, it's something good, right? It's of course good, but you need to check whether it is serving the purpose serving your purpose, right? Whether it is helping you to really implement a good system, right? So you need to choose the correct technology looking at the requirements, right? And then ensure that you use that to build your solution or implement your solution, right? So that is very important. Don't it's good to experiment cutting edge technologies, but sometimes it might not be appropriate, right? So you need to see whether it's appropriate to your product or your problem and then use it. Right, so then the implementation, and once you implement, you will be testing and deploying, right? So this is again key, right? So don't skip the testing again, and don't do half-baked testing thinking that it's a undergraduate project, right? So if you do a thorough testing, you can ensure that your system works well, right? So when it comes to like testing, you have different testing techniques, right? So you can do benchmarking. So using all of those, ensure that you have properly tested your system, right? And it is working as expected. When you figure out that it's not working, don't do some patch up, right? To try to debug and understand where gone wrong, and then try to fix that problem and make sure that your system works as expected. And the other thing that we all hate to do, or we all like, you know, we all are not so interested in doing, is documentation, right? We rarely do document the products that we develop, right? But of course, when it comes to your undergraduate projects, documentation is a must, right? So ensure to document every stage, and don't wait to start documenting at the last minute. From day one, you need to execute the project and do the documentation also in parallel, right? Just as you do the implementation, now you are going to identify a problem, then you're going to validate. While doing all of that, do document all of that as well, so that at the end of the day, documenting is not going to be stressful, right? Especially those who are doing research project, coming up with your thesis is a stressful task again, right? Because you need to write a lot, right? So if you start from the beginning and methodically, if you can write, so when you have find out the problem, try to write your first chapter. That is where you introduce your problem and give background to that, right? So while you're trying to find out the problem and finalizing it, you will get a better understanding on those, right? And then with that, you can even expand to your literature, right? So where you read a lot about that, and then you put your review and write your literature review, right? Likewise, while you progress with the product development, progress along with that, progress on your documentation, right? So that will help you to reduce your stress and to successfully complete your product and the documentation as well, right? Remember, documentation is again key, right? So let me give you all some tips that would be helping you all to be successful in achieving your goals, right? So at the beginning, you try to solve a problem and you set a target. So let's see some of the tips which could help you to achieve your goal or reach the destiny. So one thing is to start early, right? So don't procrastinate, right? Don't think I have time, let me start it a little late. No, right? Start early and spend more time on identifying your problem and validating your problem, right? So when you identify, as I told you before, when you identify a good problem and validate it and settle for it, everything else will fall in place, right? Rest is like you need to run in the set path, you need to run with a lot of energy, right? And dedication, right? So what you need to do is to start early and spend more time on finding a good problem and settle for a good problem, right? So don't, you know, sometimes we think, okay, we are too late and let's settle for something that is there and we settle, right? So if your heart says, okay, this is not a good problem to solve, this is not going to help you to reach, help you to solve, come up with a good project for your module, right? So don't just settle for it, right? And then you need to stay focused throughout and be committed to completing the project, right? There will be a lot of challenges on your way, right? Now, when I talk about it, it will be very easy and very, very nice, right? But execution is definitely hard, right? Because during the development, when you are developing the project, you're not going to work only on that, right? You will definitely have other modules, and then those modules will be having assignments, exams, and all of that, right? So your schedule is going to become really tight, and when your schedule becomes tight, it becomes so stressful, and people tend to easily give up on the projects, right? So don't do that. Stay focused and be committed, and always think that you can achieve your goal and go for it, right? Don't stop in the middle, right? Halfway through, don't think that, okay, it's too much load for me, and stop it, right? And also you might come up with problems such as, okay, we do a lot of research, right? So we do customer validation, the problem validation, right? We do literature, and we find that, okay, this is a solvable problem, and then we move forward. Halfway through, you might have a problem where you cannot sometimes progress from there onwards, right? The path or the process that you have chosen might face or might hit a dead end, right? Again, don't give up, right? Have the destination, have the goal as it is, change the path, and see whether you could reach the same goal, right? Halfway through, if you found something is challenging, something is not right, right? So don't give up. Instead, see whether you have plan B, whether you can execute a plan B, right? If plan B doesn't work, never mind, go for plan C, right? And see whether you can reach that end goal. And then always, like I said before, understand the problem, right? So if you have clear understanding of the problem that you are going to solve, right? Any problems that comes your way, you will be able to overcome that, right? Any challenges or any problem that comes your way, you will know how to overcome that, right? And also try to maintain a schedule, right? From day one. Now your university, they might give you a schedule. They might say, okay, your project proposal should be submitted on this day. Your software requirement specification should be submitted on another day. Likewise, they will have a plan given to you in order to run the projects, right? But have your own schedule and keep it in advance than the deadline set by the university. Say, for example, if the university says the proposal should be submitted on the 9th of October, right? You set a deadline for you 1 week before, right? So especially when you're working with supervisors, you might need to give them a little time to review your work and give you feedback as well, right? Because now you're only working on your project, and they deal with a lot of students, and they have a lot of other commitments as because they will be teaching on a lot of modules and all of that, right? So you need to give ample time for them also to review and give you feedback, right? You cannot expect your lecturer to, supervisor to look at your project today and give you a feedback tomorrow. It might be possible. Sometimes it might not be possible as well, right? So if you work ahead the schedule, putting up your own schedule, then it will be easy for you, right? And then stick to the deadlines, right? No matter what. So now the other thing is if the deadline is 9th of October, if you set a deadline for yourself as 2nd of October, you might think, okay, this is my deadline, right? So it's okay, I will miss it and I will do it tomorrow. Don't do that, right? If you set a deadline for yourself, if it is your own deadline or your the university deadline, right? Stick to that and try to work hard to achieve those deadlines, right? Then it won't be stressful for you at the last minute, right? And then the last one, and the most important one, maintain your physical and mental well-being, right? Especially at this time, when it comes with this pandemic situation, right? You feel lonely, right? You're at home, you can't meet your friends as before, right? When it comes to group project, collaborating and working might be challenging because unexpectedly somebody might have a power cut or internet breakdown, right? So things might not go well as we have planned, but still be motivated, right? And make sure that you maintain your physical and mental well-being, right? If you feel stressed, take some screen breaks, right? Go out, do what you like, right? Maybe you can listen to some music, right? Maybe you can spend some time in the garden, maybe you can read a novel or a book, right? And then refresh yourself, get back to work, right? And also you need to eat healthy, right? Drink water, eat healthy, and keep your physical health, maintain your physical well-being as well, because otherwise you won't have that energy to complete your project, right? So that is most important, right? Okay, so with that, let me also let you know some little tips of what to do right after you finish your project. Now, most of the time we do projects as our second year or third year project and the final year research project, right? So try to do some publications with what you have done, because either for 6 months or 1 year, you might have worked so hard in finding a solution for some problem, right? So publishing it will help you to support other researchers also to take on and work on something, right? The findings that you have found will help somebody else as well. So try to do publish the work that you have done. And if it is a second year or third year implementation project, if you really like it, if you are really passionate about it, think of turning it as your own venture one day, right? Either when you're in the university or when you graduate from the university, right? Even your research project, right? If you're really passionate about it and if you really like it, think of turning it as your own startup and implementing it in the community or in the country, and trying to see whether you could give some solution to those people who are facing that problem, right? In that way, you can also be satisfied, right? All right. So with that, I would like to end my talk now, and I would like to take some questions from you all if you have any questions.
Thank you, ma'am.
There are any questions?
For providing detailed information and ideas to create successful project. You made this session interesting and interactive with real world examples. We have learned new information regarding project formation and things we need to consider when we create projects. I hope it will be beneficial to all of us in the future, especially for third years who are working on their group project, and second year and first year students who are expected to work project in future. Now it's time for question and answer session. Is there anything you'd like to ask? You can unmute yourself and ask, or else you can add them in the chat box. Ma'am, we have got a question in the chat box. Can you give some examples for testing tools?
Yeah, so testing tools are like, there are a lot of testing out there, right? Some comes inbuilt with the different environments, right? And some are there specifically as testing tools. So I right now, nothing special comes to my mind, but if you go and look for some of the testing tools now in Java development and all of that, they are in the inbuilt environment. I think they had something called NUnit and all of that for testing, right? But if you go and look for the specific technology that you are using, you should be able to find out, right? So if I come across, maybe I can share it with Nitusha, and she should be able to share it with you all, right? Yeah, there is a question that has been directed to me directly. The question is like, while doing a research publication, what does the evaluation committee expect from us, right? So when you're doing a publication, depending on the different conferences, they have their different categories, but most of the time they will see whether you're trying to take a problem and what is your contribution, right? What work have you done in order to solve that problem, whether it's whether you have used something that is there existing and then you have gone on the same way, or whether you have done some contribution, right? And the way that you bring out that is also very important. Sometimes you might have done a marvelous project, but you might not write it properly in such a way that they understand that this amount of work had gone there, right? And also you need to provide proof for doing the testing and then ensuring that this you have successfully achieved the aim of your research project, right? So that will be evaluated in the research publications. And whenever you get, whenever you try to publish a paper and when it gets rejected at the first time, don't worry, that is your learning curve, right? So first publication, if it gets rejected, that's a great way that you get feedback, right? Work on the feedback and try to see whether you could apply, apply for any other research conferences and try to publish your paper. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, ma'am. We have got another question. How to divide project tasks within the team members?
Right. So when it comes to dividing the project now, especially now that is going to be your most of the time your third year group project, I believe, right? So you are going to find the problem and come in with the solution, right? And you will have a lot of features involved in the in the development, right? So you will have a lot of functionality that needs to be developed. So one thing that you could do is you could allocate or you could divide functional wise, right? Say functionality A and B, one person do. Functionality C and D, another person take care of that. And you work on it end to end, right? Or you can even, that might be the best way when it comes to undergraduate projects, so that every one of you will get an idea of all the phases of the development, right? So when it comes to when it comes to an environment where you go to work, sometimes you will be, if you are a software engineer, you will be developing and there will be a testing team who is there to test, right? But at this stage, you are learning, right? So when you are learning, I would recommend, like, if you all can take functional wise and work end to end and then integrate and come up with the solution, that would be ideal, right? And also, I would like to recommend, I would like to advise you all on a little thing that I wanted to do, especially when it comes to group project, right? So you might sometimes, now we all come from different backgrounds, right? Sometimes we might be really good at programming, sometimes not at all, not that good, right? Or not that great, right? But when it comes to developing a project, when there are 5 members, right? Try if somebody is not good at some task, right? Don't avoid giving that person a task and try other 4 try to get together and finish the project, right? Sometimes that happens, right? If one of your teammate is not good at one task, try to teach them how to do and then get them to do, right? In that way, you're actually helping them a lot. But if you do all those tasks and submit the project, right, you're actually not helping your friend, because when they go to the industry, they might not be able to survive, right? So in any group project, ensure that you help your teammates and get them or support them to gain knowledge and then complete the project, right? I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, ma'am. Next, we have a question. How a good team leader should behave when some team members don't collaborate, or finishing the project with active members, or persuade all members to contribute? How can we make them to contribute?
Yeah, so one thing is like, no, yeah, so that is a good question, right? So when it comes to teams, it happens, right? So when we have 5, sometimes we might get 1 or 2 who are not cooperating or collaborating, right? So I would suggest try to persuade them and try to speak to them continuously, right? Get them to come on, like, when you're working on projects, right? I know now these days with COVID, it's a bit challenging because you're going to work or collaborate online and work, right? Otherwise, what you can do is you can, like, when you come to the university, all of you all get together, sit in one place, and then you can work on developing the project, right? So even online, but if possible, try to see whether you all could get into Zoom call, right, and be online and work together. In that way, they will be also, like, sort of compelled to come and work, right? So if you try to finish it with the active members, as I told you before, right, you're not going to help that other person who has not contributed, right? Neither you have made an effort, effort to try to see whether you could, persuade and get him also to work, because if you don't do, they will, when they get to the industry, they might struggle, right? They might find it hard to survive in the industry because they might not have gained those practical knowledge, right? They will not know how to apply theory in a practical environment. So I would recommend you all to find mechanisms like having team calls on and off, right? And setting aside a time to work on the project as a team. So try to practice those. You may be able to overcome those problems.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question we got, do we need to have a brief knowledge to start the project of passion enough to create the project?
Now, I would say both are required, right? So when you start the project, I believe brief knowledge is what you say is about domain knowledge, right? So if you have passion about something, you definitely will have some little domain knowledge, right? Now, you can also read and understand, or read and get to know about those different domains. For example, now if you are going to do an agriculture related, you are passionate about solving a problem for the agriculture the farming community. And if you don't have knowledge about agriculture, you can go and read on that, right? You can read on that and gain knowledge, right? If you're passionate about solving a problem, you automatically will develop interest towards that, and you will try ways and means to acquire that knowledge, right? And then you can successfully complete your project. Fine.
Okay, ma'am. Next, how to select suitable frameworks to project?
Yeah, it again depends on the type of the product that you are going to develop, right? Based on the now, say for example, if you are going to develop a web application, right? Next, think of what languages you are going to use, and then think what is the suitable framework for that particular language. So you can read a little bit on those, and then you can try to figure out. Don't just settle for trending frameworks, right? Really understand your solution, then type of your solution, and see what technology is used or required to develop that particular solution. And then in order to use that technology, see what is the framework that will be pretty much helpful and easy for you all to work on, right?
Yeah, ma'am. Next, we got, what are the most important diagrams for the project?
Yeah, generally, when it comes to software development project, or that is your third year group project or the research project, we highly recommend you all to draw a use case diagram so that you can show the requirements and the different use cases involved and how they get connected with one another and the dependency. Then we recommend you all to come up with the class diagram, sorry, to show the structure of the system, like to see what are the different entities that are involved, and then how those entities are interconnected with one another, and so on. Then we recommend you all to come up with a sequence diagram to show for each use cases how the flow is happening, right? Because that will help you to come up with the functionality or implementation, help you to easily implement that functionality. And we also recommend the activity diagram, which shows the whole activity across the system, right? And in some cases, we also recommend something like a deployment diagram, which will be helpful to show how we are going to deploy, how different components are going to be placed and going to work. And also to show the overall solution, you can come up with a rich picture as well, right? Apart from the UML diagrams, you can also come up with a rich picture. And also for your databases, in order to design your database properly, first you need to come up with the ER diagram as well, right? So if you don't put up a good ER diagram and understand the relationship between the entities again, you will find it hard to have this foreign key relationship and put up the tables in a proper way and have optimized database, right?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Next question, should we follow any academic studies to do research publication, or can we do publication on our own without working without any lecture?
It's like this. Now, if you are working on, now, if you are not an academic, right? If you're not following academic studies, that is, if you are not an undergraduate student, if you are just a student, right? Anyone can do research, right? Anyone can do research, but if you are a student, it's part of your academic life. It's a requirement, right? So outside, like if you have graduated, and if you go on, and if you go and do an independent research without anyone, if you do an independent research, you still can publish it, right? But you have to make sure, but however, whenever you're doing a research, you definitely will need a support of someone to guide, right? It will be really, I would say it will be really hard for you to, do a research on your own. At least you will have a teammate who might support you, right? Two collaborative researchers, right? So you can publish along with them. Right? But it's not a must that you need to be an undergraduate student or a student of a university to publish a paper, right? And of course, if you work on a research project with your supervisor, you can publish with your supervisor, because your supervisor is going to spend a lot of time and effort in shaping up your work, right? Even your research paper, you will be like, sitting with your supervisor and reviewing it, getting their feedback, and then publishing, right? So it goes as co-publication, right? So you can, your undergraduate projects, you can publish along with your project supervisors.
Thank you, ma'am. I hope they got the answer. There were so many questions. We wish to answer your question, but due to time limit, now we wrap up the question and answer session. Thank you, ma'am, for your thoughtful responses and explanation. I'm hoping the audience, they receive their responses. Ma'am, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. Please accept this as a mark of our gratitude.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you for inviting me for this session today. And I hope all of you all who are present here would have got some useful tips to successfully complete your project. So I wish all the very best to all of you, as well as to the IEEE WIE student branch of University of Jaffna. Thank you, everyone.